I did my paper on the death penalty. So, capital punishment in America is a sentence reserved for the most severe crimes, which are murder, sexual assault, and treason. And since 1976, there have been 1,478 legal executions. The death penalty is a topic that comes with logical, spiritual, and moral questions. Is it beneficial to society? Does God approve of it? And is it morally acceptable to take away someone's life in this way? When dealing with capital punishment, it's important to understand justice versus revenge. So, according to the court, justice is a scheme or system of law in which every person receives his, her, or its duty from the system, including all rights both natural and legal. And according to the dictionary, revenge is to do something in return for. Therefore, the death penalty is revenge because it's done in return for the crime committed by the criminal, which means that capital punishment is a sentence intended to protect society through revenge. It's a proven fact that once somebody kills, they probably aren't going to do it again, which means the argument that the death penalty is protecting society from further crime isn't really valid. Society isn't being protected from an offender if that offender isn't going to hurt society again. So if the death penalty isn't okay, what do we do? Well, society has ways to defend itself other than destroying life, and a main alternative to capital punishment is a life sentence, which means that the person will be confined in a prison for the rest of their life, which prevents them from hurting other people ever again. Although the traditional teaching of the church does not exclude recourse to the death penalty, it believes it's not right if non-lethal means are sufficient to defend and protect people's safety from the aggressor. Therefore, legal execution should only take place if it is the only way of effectively defending human lives against the unjust aggressor. Another important Catholic reason to be anti-death penalty is the fifth commandment, which is you shall not kill. Since this is one of the 10 rules given to us by the Lord, it's important to follow this law. An argument used by some Christians who support the death penalty is since Jesus was killed in place of guilty people, it means capital punishment is just, but just because Jesus was given the death penalty doesn't mean he approves of it. Catholics believe that human life is sacred, and the dignity of the human person is the foundation of a moral vision for society. Therefore, if society chooses to kill another person, it's immoral. The value of human life is being threatened by the death penalty. If the government shows its people that it does not value human dignity, then its people will begin to think the same way, which is dangerous because this is the mindset of violent criminals. For example, a man who rapes a woman has no respect for her human dignity, and if more people begin to think like this, there will be more incidents of rape. Another question that comes up frequently is what it's like to be on death row, and studies have shown that it's an extremely stressful experience. Psychological studies carried out on death row prisoners have shown high levels of frustration, fear, and loneliness that are very similar to those of the terminally ill. Perhaps the most talked about question of the morality of the death penalty is that many innocent people have been exonerated from the death penalty only because of the serendipitous discovery of evidence that was not presented at their trials. Since 1973, 156 innocent people have been exonerated from the death penalty, but many others have not been as fortunate. Although making a mistake is a very common human occurrence, there really shouldn't be any mistake when it comes to the life and death of a person. Many people are afraid of dying, but it is the promise of death and the experience of dying more than any other force in life that can move a human being to grow. Therefore, if someone is denied a peaceful or resolved death, they are being denied this final stage of growth. When criminals are given the death penalty, they are often not at peace and need to work through their life choices in order to come up with a conclusion on how they feel about the situation. Unfortunately, they are not given this opportunity because they have been assigned a day on which they must be executed. Many death row inmates march to their execution with more hate, denial of wrongdoing, and guilt than peace and joy. Capital punishment also does not give these people a chance for repentance in society. With these points in mind, society does not have the right to take away the lives of its members because it is not logically, spiritually, or morally just. On February 23, 2016, President Obama called for the closure of the Guantanamo Bay detention facility. Since this penitentiary has been one of the main prisons to hold dangerous criminals, they will not be able to be contained in typical American prisons. Therefore, when they are brought back into the U.S., many of them will end up on death row. Now is the time to reform the use of the death penalty in America and to fix prisons so dangerous members of society can be safely contained. As part of a united country, Americans are called to respect and uphold one another. With legal executions taking place, citizens are not valuing each other. With respect for fellow human beings slowly vanishing, It is important to show others compassion and forgiveness as the Lord shows to his people. In the words of former President Abraham Lincoln, mercy bears richer fruit than strict justice.